were never willing to go to the rural areas, but today, thanks to certain good interventions by the regulator, that the mobile industry is actively looking at the rural areas. Now, for example, in the rural areas, the pedagogy before 2005 was that you have to provide fixed line, and then only you will get, for example, whatever subsidy you want to cover up your cost. But today it's available for mobile operators, right? So the Universal Service Obligation Fund is available today to mobile operators, and about 2005, end of 2005, we had a reverse auction. Find out how many operators are willing and how much they want from the Universal Service Obligation Fund. More than 50% of the rural clusters which were identified in 2005 got a zero or a negative quote, which means that the operators are willing to go to these particular rural areas without any need for subsidy. In fact, they will pay in order to get license to provide to the rural areas, right? So the reverse auction is going to be repeated sometime this year, right, to address the other rural clusters. So people are forced to go. Why? Because it's getting saturated in most of the urban areas, and therefore there is a huge potential. Teledensity is 8.5, so huge potential in the rural areas. Money power is not much, it's exactly half. The rural area has the net disposable income of 9,500, and therefore their needs may be quite different. They want to be connected, they want to have access to education, entertainment, and so on. And these people belong to the other part of the bell curve, so they are very much conscious about price. So price elasticity of demand is very high. If you reduce the price by 1 rupee, you can increase the subscription more than 1%, and therefore these may be the target audience that we need to attack after we reach the critical mass. Once we attain the critical mass, this can give you huge network externality effect so that you can sustain your operations. So that's one of the things that is important. The other important thing is a customer and the mobile VAS service. What are the factors that are going to affect the adoption of this mobile service? The two most important things which have often been repeated is that if I am using a mobile VAS, it has to give me a definite advantage over the existing systems that I use. For example, I was in Finland last year, and of course 3G was, the spectrum was given in 1999. Nobody was adopting. I mean, everybody might have a 3G handset, but they will just talk. So the VAS service, even on 3G, was not very popular. And one of the reasons they cited was that why, for example, mobile video, obviously, mobile TV or any of those things which require this huge bandwidth, it's available on the move, nobody is using it. Why? Because they can always go to their home, they have an 8 Mbps fixed line connection through which they can download, or they have a digital terrestrial video broadcasting through which we can get exceptional quality, and what they have to wait is just wait for about 1 hour to get home. Right? So the relative advantage, what is it that the mobile VAS is going to give you apart from the other options that I have? That's going to be very, very important. The second important thing is ease of use. Unless it is very, very easy to use, the mobile VAS service is not going to pick up at all. The one-touch ring-back tune on mobile has developed is an excellent example of how an easy-to-use mobile applications can have huge adoption. So these are the two most important factors, especially in developing countries such as India. For example, you cannot really, if, for example, if you are developing an application for an advanced developed market, in general, developed markets, the people have affinity to risk more than people in developing countries. Right? So even if, for example, it is complicated, right, or even if it does not seem to provide an advantage over the existing application services systems that I use, still people might want to adopt it. But here in India, this threshold is very, very low, and therefore we need to address these two concerns clearly. There are other factors which are of course very important. What is it that I can demonstrate clearly the advantage of the mobile VAS service? Is it trialable? So most of the times people do not adopt unless you give a trial version. If I am able to trial it once or twice without cost, then my intention to adopt actually will improve. Visibility, is it visible? One of the things which I notice is that most of the VAS services are not visible. The operators are not propagating it, it's not known, right? So unless it is known and it is heard, it's not going to be adopted, and it has to be compatible with the target audience that we seem to address. Right? So these are some of the factors which are important. Of course, along with this, price and packaging are also very important. Price, especially in, for example, non-lucrative areas. Packaging. So people are, their adoption capabilities are much better if, for example, the services are bundled, right? So if the services are bundled, of course, economists would say that bundling is always beneficial to the service provider because the cost of providing a bundled service is going to be much less than the cost of providing unbundled service. Right? But bundling also provides an opportunity for the subscriber to adopt it more easily because he gets a bouquet, right? For example, if you get a bouquet of services, then it's easier for the user to visualize what is available and hence subscribe to that. Other factors which are, of course, are important as researchers have found out is personalization. Of course, there is a contradiction here. We want personalization because mobile VAS service has to be personalized, but it is in demand. Whenever you release a personalized service, it's going to be in demand, which leads to mass market behavior, right? So it's going to be marketed to the entire market, but it has to be personalized for each and every individual user. So there is a contradiction between personalization and mass market. So privacy and other issues need to be taken into account. Information tied to time. Mobility offers an advantage over the other media because it's available anytime, anywhere. So the information that we provide has to be tied to the time. For example, simple thing is stock update at 4 o'clock when BSE closes is much more important for the consumer than the news feed, right? So this particular factor seems to be very, very important in the adoption of mobile VAS service. So, of course, the individual panels will discuss in detail about the opportunities. For example, in mobile banking, there's a huge opportunity. ATMs in the country is about 30,000. Rural household, if you're looking at a rural household, has to visit at least, on the average, 5 times a bank to get sanction for loan. Right? So if it can be improved, it's going to be useful for the end user. India is one of the largest recipients of the remittance flows, $27 billion. So mobile banking, mobile payment, mobile remittance have a huge potential, reduces transaction cost, and it is applicable not only for example, the rural house, the urban household. It's also applicable as well for the rural households. And MCHEP has done a remarkable job of providing these, mobile payment, mobile banking services, and so on. The other important thing which the subsequent panels will also address is mobile web. I just noticed that the Fraunhofer Institute for Open Communication System released a platform for Mobile Web 2.0. It's an open platform in which the users can share experience, their location-dependent factors, right? And then there is also a new concept of micro-blogs which are coming up where the individuals using their mobiles can upload information on the web about their,